Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and if anyone would like to sign up for public comment, you may do so by doing it on the chat feature. All yours, Evelyn.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. This very bright summer day. I'll start with the opening statement. The trustees of the Boston Public Library reaffirm our commitment to racial equity and to principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion more broadly. The library is formally committed to become an anti-racist organization and respond to systemic racism, inequity, and injustice prevalent in our society. We acknowledge also that the Boston Library's Central Library stands on land that was once a water-based ecosystem, providing sustenance for the indigenous Massachusetts people, and is a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among nations. We are committed to land acknowledgements for all locations at which we operate. We reaffirm this commitment to set the context of our planning, deliberations, and public engagements so that take place from the spirit of welcome and respect found in our motto, free to all. All right, today's agenda, lots of contracts. So roll call.
I'm just going to read your last name. And this is a special meeting of the finance. It was an add-on. I just wanted to make that noted. Evelyn Arano Ortiz.
Present.
Najib Bao. John Heiler. Jeff Hawkins.
Present.
David Leonard.
Here.
And Mike Rush.
Good morning. Yep.
Good morning. We have a quorum.
All right. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Arano Ortiz.
Yes.
Bao. Heiler. Hawkins.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
And Rush.
Yes.
Thank you. So moved.
All right, next up, contracts. So I'm going to pass it on to Ellen.
Thank you, Evelyn. I'm going to start with an apology. You actually did vote on the glass enclosure contract at the May meeting. I'll chalk that up to my reviewing the final agenda on my phone from vacation, so apologies on that. With that, we'll go to the fire alarm inspection and maintenance contract. That is a contract we bid every 3 years. It previously had a fire suppression component to it, which was under $25,000. But with the addition of the rare books opening and the systems that came along with that, that'll go over $25,000. And that triggered what we found out when we bid this the first time, a separate DCAM being the State Department of Capital Assets and Management process. So we rebid without suppression. This is only the fire alarm inspection and maintenance service. We are in the process of rebidding bidding the subcontract for, now it'll be a contract for the suppression component. So this is our typical vendor. We typically only get one bidder on this. We've had American Fire Alarm for a number of years now.
Jay, can you move John Heiler into panelist?
Happy to do these, wait for questions, Evelyn, and then do these all in a row. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The third item, the second that you'll be voting on, is a contract with Jess Dembro. Jess, as some of you may recall, was our assigned attorney from the Office of Labor Relations for a number of years, then became our HR director. She left to move out of state, but it has been helping us with some matters over the last couple of years. We still continue to be short-staffed in HR, and she has an expertise in FMLA matters and has helped us with some investigative matters, excuse me. We didn't even hit 10,000 with her last year, but I'm leaving this a little bit higher just to give us some breathing room. Okay. And then moving down, so if we can move that down. The next contract is the cleaning of the Founding Research Collection. We did go out to bid on that. We had a number of bidders, and we selected the most qualified. Our bidding committee was led by Jess Bitely, who is preservation manager, and our external consultant, Hepsi. And I'll ask Beth if she could discuss that.
Sure. Good morning, trustees. So this is part of the Founding Research Collection Project, which is the major externally funded multi-year grant through an anonymous donor through the BPL Fund and the associates. This was a public RFP process. WB Meyer was selected. Of the 5 respondents, they were the only vendor who had worked on projects of this scale. This would be cleaning over 150,000 items. They had worked on 3 projects that were over 50,000 items, and their cost proposal was within the written proposed budget of $130,000. We have worked with Meyer before with much success.
And then if no questions, Beth, why don't you move on to the next?
Sure. So this is also externally funded contract. This would be funded through a special trust fund that is dedicated to the preservation of arts material at the BPL. It's the Lucy Field Fund. We have busts on public display, I think, as you know, in many locations throughout the library, including Bates Hall. This would be to contract with Daedalus. They would be working on conservation and stabilization of 12 portrait busts that are currently on display in Bates Hall. There have not been conservation and preservation efforts on these objects for over 2 decades. And over that time, they've been exposed to dirt and in a public forum contact by patrons. While many of them are mounted on pedestals, some are unsecured, and we want to better stabilize them to prevent jostling or any damage. Daedalus, we have a long-term very positive relationship with Daedalus. They're a local firm. They're in Watertown. They have great experience assessing, cleaning, and treating installations at BPL. Most recently, the courtyard fountain sculpture, the Kant, and they've also done removal of graffiti over several instances on the exterior marble pedestals. One particularly positive thing is that because they're local, they'll be, to minimize impact on the public, we would be doing these in series of pairs and transporting the bus offsite for conservation work, and then returning them and doing the next sets. And the risk in taking them offsite for conservation work and doing it locally, we feel is poses many fewer risks to the objects over time.
And then finally, with bibliotemps, we did get authorization from the trustees back, I think, in January to use them for a project Laura Armshire had. We do have some room left in that. We will be coming back to the trustees for additional authorization in the coming months. But at this point, Beth will talk more about this. Given the project, we thought it would be a good idea for the vendor to see that we are committed to getting the authorization needed for them to staff up. We have asked the Mass Higher Education Consortium if they could put them on their contract, but because this is actually a state agency, given their relationship with the state, they thought that was a conflict. This is the only company that we can find that it specializes in temporary hiring of librarians, and that's why we come to the trustees for authorization for this.
Okay. Any questions on these? That's a lot, guys. Questions? No questions. Coffee? I'm sending coffee all around. I have no questions. So we need to, yeah, here we go. So Pamela, seriously, do I have to go one by one?
Since we're doing so many, I would prefer that we do it one by one, not one by one vote, but each person, and ask if there's, and then if you could also, we can do the whole thing together as a block, and then I'll just ask if there's any objections with each person.
Okay, so just go around any objections. So I need to do a motion for the block.
Correct.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the block of all these contracts?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and then Jay, just because I want to make sure that everybody knows there's a lot here. Yes, thank you. So first one was already approved. So Pamela, can you go one by one and then just making sure?
Yep. We're going
Anybody
to-
for any abstentions?
Yep, we're going to be voting on the fire alarm, the Just Embro, the Founding Research Collection, the Dallas, and Bibliotemps. Does anyone want to abstain from the vote? Anyone object to any of the votes? All right, so this is to ask if anyone wants to approve. I'm going to run three last names. Arano Ortiz,
Yes.
Hyler,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
and Rush.
yes,
All moved.
All right. Any new business? No. All right. And do we have any other attendance from the public?
Unfortunately, now that, as all of you have seen, David Vieira had passed away, he was probably our only one that used to sign up for public comment, and I have no one to sign.
Hey, David Leonard, I was gonna say this for a private conversation, but he was such a phenomenal advocate of the library. Is there anything we can, like a letter you guys have sent or done anything about, I know he was very much an advocate of the library, and sometimes anyhow, he was just such a staple of our meetings, and just a terrific person, and caring. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but he was very dedicated. I didn't know if the library could do something like a letter or something.
Yeah, there was we got the initial details regarding his passing away. There was discussion among the Hyde Park friends in particular of doing something in September.
Yeah.
And my thought was we wanted to see what that looked like.
Okay.
And then see if there's a role for the library and the trustees to acknowledge
Right.
there is no question that his passion and his interest in the library's affairs was huge. And he may have been more of a Socratic gadfly in some ways over time, but he regardless of how we felt in the moment, I think he actually made us a better institution by always asking those questions and making those comments, sometimes painfully, but
Yep.
so I'd like to just keep an eye on what the plans are, and then let you know what seems appropriate. It's actually I find it both sad and gratifying at the same time that the library became his whole life, and that there really isn't family or friends beyond our world that we know of to do a letter for or something. But let us get back to you on what's most appropriate.
Thank you. Sorry to bring it up here, but I just thought, since it was recent.
Oh no, that feels quite appropriate to me as a matter of trustee business.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I'll keep the trustees aware of when they're doing the memorial service. I'll be sure to send that out to the group.
Great.
I think in his obituary, I think he was asking also for donations, so you could do donations to the BPL fund on his behalf.
And his other love, which is rowing. He was a rower. So he has he also had something in there about supporting the rowing, because he started to do one where they went out with blind and visually impaired customers, if you will.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So with that, we adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.
Soon.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Enjoy the rest of the summer. Bye-bye.